What's up guys, today we're back because it is the day before the Revenge of Legends events drops in game. I guess for my time zone at least it's the day before. For you, it might be today that the Revenge of Legends event is dropping. So it is a very exciting day in the community because this is a big event. And whilst at the time of this video we don't really know what the Revenge of Legends event is going to look like, what that really entails, what the fights are like, there is something that we do know about, and that is the Ascension box that is tied into this event. So we are getting this Ascension box where there is 6 champions that we're able to get from this, and a bunch of them we're going to be able to get for free. So in this video, I just kind of wanted to go through these champions and show you what you could expect to get from these champions, so you can get an idea of maybe which champions you should be hoping for out of the box that are going to slot into your roster really nicely. Now, because of all of the support you guys have been giving me, I have been able to get into the content creator program, and that means that I've had access to these champions a bit earlier to be able to test out their ascensions, see how they're performing at that ascension level. And for this entire video, any of the numbers that I'm showing are basically all around the rank 4 Ascension 1 level, because I think rank 4 Ascension 1 is a realistic position where a lot of people are going to be able to get those champions once they get them out of the box. So this box basically includes your 6 champions, and every time you open it, you're going to gain the champion, and you're also going to gain one of the Ascension tokens. So for Elder players, you're actually going to be able to get 9 keys completely for free. Paragon and Valiant players, you're going to be able to get 7 for free, so all of them at Ascension 1 as well, which is really good. And then for Thronebreaker, you're going to be able to get 4 of the keys as well. And technically, in the part 2 of this event, starting on the 26th of August, we are going to have the 7-hour crystals starting as well. And technically, as a jackpot prize in those 7-hour crystals, you can also get more box keys as well. So even if you're completely free to play, there is the chance that you could get an Ascension 2 champion. Now, before we get into the champion breakdowns, I just want to say thank you very much for all the support recently. I really appreciate it. And if you're new to my channel and you enjoy this video, consider subscribing down below. That stuff really helps me out. A lot of people, I'm sure, see my videos pop up on their homepage whenever they come out, and they might assume that they're subscribed, but you might actually not be. So check down below, and if you like these videos, hit that, because that really helps me out and I truly do appreciate it. Anywho, let's get into these champions. And the first champion that I want to talk about is Moondragon. Now, Moondragon is not particularly a champion that I've had a lot of experience with. This has literally mainly just been during this testing that I've played around with her for the first time. And I have been quite impressed with the damage I've been able to get with her. Now, Moondragon is mainly an attacker, but she does have some defensive abilities. Like after her special attacks, she's also got a miss period. So if people aren't super prepared for Moondragon, that might catch people out here and there as well. Now, if you haven't gone through all the Karina challenges yet as well, she does have the hashtags for the 10-year challenge. So getting her at Ascension 1 could be really beneficial if you're still yet to go through those challenges too. And then she also is one of the Apex Coliseum champions right now to be able to go up against Mojo and Korg. So if you're yet to do those also, then a Moondragon at Ascension 1 could be a really good bet to get some points up there too. So Moondragon has, I would say, a fairly high skill threshold to be able to make the most of her damage. It's really revolving around intercepts a lot, or at least hitting into the opponent's block for the first medium and light attack to try to build up your psionic charges. And then once you get to a certain level of psionic charges, you're going to enter your psionic transcendence, and that's where you're really going to do all of your damage. So through that balancing, through building up the psionic charges and putting on your energy vulnerabilities onto the defender, you're really going to be able to deal some pretty solid burst damage. And then during that psionic transcendence period as well, the opponent also can't evade. So she's a pretty solid skill attacker for dealing with, you know, those evading science champions that are pretty common as well. When she's in psionic transcendence as well, it sort of builds on top of her base kit too. So in her normal abilities, she has got a reduction of potency in both bleed, power sting, degen, and poison effects. And that's for 30% in the base ability. But when she's in that psionic transcendence, that bumps up to 80% as well. So overall, a pretty good utility knife of a champion. There's a lot of things that she can deal with. And overall, if you haven't really played around with Moondragon yet, this Ascension might be the thing that sort of opens your eyes to this champion. And I don't think that would be a bad thing. I think she's going to be a pretty solid champion for a lot of people. Now let's jump over to the mutant class, because the next champion we're going to talk about is Colossus. Now, for people that aren't aware, this Revenge of Legends event was built in collaboration with the YouTuber Seaton. And Seaton has a fairly long-standing memeing history of sending a Colossus his way. But Colossus is still a solid option overall, I think. Now, Colossus, again, is an Apex Coliseum champion, so you can use him against Korg if you're still yet to get some of those points. And he's also a Raids champion, so if you need some Raids Vanguard champions, he's an option for that as well, I guess. Now, at a baseline, Colossus has some really good immunities to some sort of niche effects as well. So he has his Bleed and Incinerate, which is fairly standard across a bunch of champions, but he also has Cold Snap and Frostbite immunity as well, which is really good too. And then if he's not fighting a tech champion, so for any Cosmic champions, for example, he is immune to Armor Break and Armor Shatter. So for like your Medusa or for your Vision Arcus, you're not going to be able to deal with the armor buffs with those sorts of abilities. Colossus's whole abilities basically revolve around just building up your armor, because that's going to increase your critical damage rating, and it's also going to make you an extremely tanky champion. Colossus is so tanky. He is definitely more of an attacker, but as a defender, even though he's got very easy special attacks to avoid, he's just such a tank that, like in a Battlegrounds match, you could just find that you you are getting the opponent to time out if they don't have the right counter for him as well. So overall, as I said, he's building up through those armor ups, he's going to build up his damage by that, and he's going to do that by kind of building up his parry. You're going to cash in that damage with your heavy attacks and your special attacks to kind of build up those armor ups more and more and more, and build up that damage more and more and more. And once he gets cooking, he does a fair bit of damage. He's definitely not a champion to sleep on. I think he is one of the best champions in this box for sure. I would say probably, you know, top 2 overall in champions, I think he would be. So he's definitely going to be a good bit of a utility champion for a lot of newer players. Maybe they don't have a lot of like double immunity options in their roster, or maybe they need someone for raids, or maybe they need someone who's a bit tanky because they might not be super across the game mechanics yet, and they need someone who can take a few more hits. Colossus is a really good sort of training champion like that. And he is a champion that if you've got pretty high skill, you can take him a lot further as well. But overall, I think he's going to be a pretty solid addition to almost anyone's roster, I think. Now, the next thing we're going to do is jump across to the Science class. And the champion that's in the box from the Science class is Spider-Man Classic. Now, Spider-Man Classic had a buff a while ago, but I think even with his buff, he kind of flew under the radar for a lot of people, me included. So, like a lot of the other champions in this box at the moment, Spider-Man is also an Apex Coliseum challenger against Mojo as well. And like a lot of other champions in this box, he is mainly an attacker for sure. However, because of Spider-Man Classic's evade ability as well, he can be a bit of an annoying defender if the opponent doesn't have the right matchup too. So built into his kit, he basically has this ability where if he inflicts a taunt on the opponent, that's going to increase his chance to evade. So if you end up having a few taunts on you, that chance could get a little bit frustrating. So if you don't have the best option and you don't really have any other options to place down for defense, Spider-Man could be a solid option too. So the webbing is basically going to inflict different sorts of debuffs. And through these debuffs, once you've got a few webbing on the opponent, you're going to be able to deal with not only unstoppable, but also with evade. So it's pretty much got this built-in slow mechanic through the debilitate and the decelerate. So once you've got those webbings on there and you've got those debuffs on there and you have the utility from those debuffs, there's not much more you can do to build up your damage. So the damage for Spider-Man, if it goes well, is definitely solid. Like his special 2 does do a fair bit of damage, and then once you throw off your special 2, you're also going to stun the opponent, and they've got less physical resistance after that as well, which I do think is going to be really solid for towers if you can rotate that special 2 fairly regularly. Outside of towers though, the special 2, if it doesn't crit, it feels really bad. The yellow numbers are great, it's got huge damage, but when it doesn't crit, when you know what it could have done when it crit, it does feel a bit rough. In testing Spider-Man, I think I had like maybe 8 to 10 special 2s in a row that didn't crit. A special attack being just 1 hit and it all banking on that 1 hit critting, it does feel very, very rough when it doesn't all line up. Overall, I think he's going to be a solid addition to a lot of accounts. I definitely think though, because of that, because of the reliance on RNG and not a whole lot of abilities other than that evade and unstoppable and not really a way to build up your damage, I do think he is definitely one of the worst options you could get out of this box. I think all the champions in here are okay and do have their uses, but I think he's definitely one of the weaker ones. Now, let's jump over to the Cosmic class, because the Cosmic champion is a bit of an interesting one, and that is Terrax. So Terrax was sort of this titan of defense for a very, very long time in the game. He was sort of a very menacing fight you would find in war. There wasn't a lot of options to be able to deal with him, and he does deal just a lot of tick damage, so it's very rare that you come out of a Terrax fight with just all of your health still. So I do think that this guy entering the Ascension pool does have pretty good promise to bring him back as sort of a more relevant defender, because that really is what Terrax is. He is a defender. He does have some abilities around attack, but his damage cap is stuck quite low as well. So Terrax doesn't really have any additional tags that make him a bit more interesting other than just that he's a Saga champion right now. So Terrax has got a couple of immunities as well. He's got shock and bleed effect immunity, but also when dealing with metal champions as an attacker, he's got immunity to power drain, power steal, power burn, power lock, and innovate as well. So basically everything power control related, you're going to shut down that as well. The main ability with Terrax that makes him a bit more interesting is this rock field. So the rock field with Terrax, when you throw a special attack with Terrax, rather than losing all of your bars at once, your bars slowly tick down to 0 from when you threw the special attack. And during that time, you're able to deal additional damage, depending on if you're close to the defender. And then that's where you're also going to inflict your armor breaks that you can then refresh with your 4th light attack. So during that time, the damage feels really, really solid. You can do a lot of tick damage. You can do a lot of damage just by keeping those armor breaks up. But the armor breaks cap out at 10, and the 10 armor breaks don't feel particularly really high damage when they're all in the defender and you're maintaining those. You can get an additional armor break from the special 3, which can deal some additional damage too, but I don't think it's anything significant that is going to turn this guy into an attacker. I think there's definitely a lot of better cosmic options for attackers in general. However, as a defender, he's pretty menacing still. And outside of that, his damage does feel okay. Like, you get some good heavy attacks here and there, you get some good special 2 attacks here and there. The tick damage is pretty good, but because of that cap of the 10 armor breaks, it just does feel a little bit limiting. But overall, as a champion to add to the Ascension pool, and honestly as potentially a bit of a towers option as well, I do think that he at least has a place in that pool, even as just a blank defender that is brought up a little bit more by that Ascension and made a bit more relevant in today's meta as well. Second last champion we're going to talk about is across to the Mystic class, and that is Dragon Man. So Dragon Man, again, like other champions in this, doesn't really have any specific things going in his tags, apart from that he is extra large. So I guess against some of those like glancing nodes where it's size specific, it's pretty solid for that too. And he also is a robot champion in metal. For so long in game, I had no idea that Dragon Man wasn't a dragon. He's a robot, which still throws me off. I still forget that fairly regularly. But anywho, now Dragon Man, similar to Terrax, is definitely more of a defensive focused champion. He definitely has some abilities around a couple of bursty opportunities for damage here and there, especially once you've got the opponent against the corner. So he has some openings to be able to deal some pretty solid damage through that if everything lines up well. But the main way that this guy's going to be really menacing is as a defender. If you're up against the wall with that cornered on, he is going to be able to do a lot of damage. And if it's at the wrong time, when he's got an unstoppable and an unblockable, it is a pretty difficult thing to deal with, especially around Dragon Man, because he gains his power gain abilities. He is a pretty menacing defender overall. And that definitely doesn't get easier to be able to take down a Dragon Man because of his armor up and being a robot as well. He's also got immunity to bleed, poison, and armor shatter. And if you do armor break Dragon Man as well, you're also going to get degeneration put onto you. And this is 100% increased if it's a cosmic champion that you're fighting with also. So throughout the fight, you're basically going to gain these power gain buffs with Dragon Man. And then building up, you're going to try to focus on going to your special 2, because this is where you're really going to get a lot of your incinerate damage, and you can cycle that with your heavy attacks to deal some pretty nasty burst damage. You really want to take advantage of Dragon Man, as I said, when you've got the opponent against the corner, because that's where that cornered passive is going to help your damage a whole lot more as well. So in situations, I think like towers, where you can keep the opponent against the wall, Dragon Man could be a very, very solid option. So I'm keen to see how he goes once I get this guy on the main account also. On his special 1, he also does inflict a slow debuff, which is kind of nice. So depending on what you're going up against, if you're dealing with an unstoppable or an evade champion. But overall, I think where this guy's going to find the most comfortable position is either attacking in towers or as a defender in battlegrounds, war, whatever it is. I think he's mainly going to be a defender on most people's accounts. As people are probably already aware, Dragon Man is a bit of a menace on defense. So I think he's probably going to be a pretty solid addition at that Ascension level as well. And now the last champion that I want to talk about is from the tech class, and that is Guillotine 2099. Now Guillotine 2099, I think at a baseline level is the best champion on this list. I just don't know if she slots into where the game is at right now very well. Now I guess first of all to mention, Guillotine is also an Apex Challenger champion as well against Emma Frost and also Mojo. And then the other thing I guess to take note of is that she is a Karina Challengers champion too. So if you haven't done that Karina challenge, then she's an option for you to use also. Now Guillotine as well, being a robot, she does get immunity to bleed and poison effects as well. And she also has an ability around a regeneration too. So when you're below 15% health and you've got a soul at least, you're going to be able to gain some health recovered as well too. Now Guillotine 2099 has been a very popular champion for a very long time because she is one of the few Everest content champions in the game. She's a champion that can ramp up very, very, very high to be dealing so much damage. But the issue is with Guillotine is that she takes a very, very long time to get there. So with Guillotine, to get to max ramp, you're basically going to build up to 600 hits. And that is also combo meter dependent. So if you don't have your combo shield up by using the heavy attack and you get clipped, that's going to drop your combo and ramp all the way down to 0 again as well. So definitely not as survivable as other ramp champions have been in the past, like with Black Tarantula, for example, with it being tied to separate abilities rather than combo. Guillotine 2099 is definitely susceptible to those slip up moments, which could ruin your fight entirely. Now, outside of that, she does have some other abilities, obviously around power drain and around power burn and around some heal block abilities and heal reversal. And you are going to get those as the fight goes on, as you're building up Guillotine. But I just think in today's meta, she just takes too long to ramp up. I think for people that really like Guillotine 2099, she's going to be a really nice Ascension to have because they're the ones that are using her every day. But I don't think that an Ascension 1 with that bit of a bump up in rank there is going to be significant enough to make her a relevant champion in a lot of the game modes that we're doing now. So towers, for example, she's never going to ramp up in time. Battlegrounds, she's never going to ramp up in time. The Ascension definitely will help to make the damage a bit better whilst you're ramping up, and being in that ISO burst phase, it feels pretty good because you're able to deal a bit more damage while you're working through the fight too. But I just think that she she is going to struggle to fit in amongst the other tech champions that are there right now. I think for Everest content, she's still going to be solid. That Ascension would be nice when you're in Everest content, but I also think Guillotine is a champion where if you're in Everest content, you are building her up to 600 hits regardless, and that Ascension, whilst it's nice, it could improve the damage a little bit, you were already dealing so much damage at max ramp that it's just kind of another drop in the bucket. So yeah, we'll have to see what happens with Guillotine. We'll have to see where people are using her and see how she ends up going, but I do think that she is a very good champion. There's no doubt she's got really high potential for those sorts of high Everest, really high health pool champion fights, but I just don't really know where she's going to slot into the contest right now. So keen to see what people do with her. I'm sure MSD will do some content when she comes out at Ascension 2 on his account as well. So keen to see what he's able to do with that and see what that community is going to push forward through as well. But overall, those are the champions. Those are the 6 champions that are going to be entering into this Revenge of Legends box. Now, obviously, the breakdown of these champions in this video was quite limited because I just wanted to give you a brief overview of what you could expect if you are going to get these champions out of this box. If you want to see more from these champions, if you want to see me do guides for each one and show you the specific rotations of each champion, put a comment down below about who you want to see that about too. But that's going to do it, guys. That's all I wanted to talk about today. If you like this video, as I said at the start, hit like, hit subscribe. That stuff really does help me out and I truly do appreciate it. So thank you very much for the support. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.